So about a year ago, I created this channel. Throughout the 3 videos I made so far, I only made 1 game project that was complete, and it was a game jam project, which was not good, to say the least. You know, there's like AAA, AA, single A, well, skip all the other rankings, and this game might be the first D-ranked game. Safe to say, I wasn't pleased. I mean, of course, your first game project might be complete ass. So I took it upon myself to start on my second project, and hopefully make a better game. The inspiration for its project all came from me playing with a Minecraft plugin called Infinite Parkour. At some point while I was wasting my time with the plugin, the concept of it got me pretty intrigued. Sure, it was pretty bare bones and all, as all you do is parkour to the next block, another one spawns ahead of you, and the block behind you disappears. You continue the cycle, attempting to get a higher score until you get tired of it. I thought this could work well as a second project for me to start with. It's a simple concept, yet there were unlimited possibilities I can add in addition to this concept. So I got to work and booted up the Godot game engine and created a new project. Since I'm just getting started, I made a huge cube to test the player's movement and reused the movement code and deleted unnecessary code that wouldn't exist for my game project, and the vessel you'll be controlling as is not a bean, but instead this goober. I completely just reused this character model I made from my previous game project. But here begins the point of realization. I don't exactly know where to begin. So I eventually said, fuck it! Let's add a skybox texture.
Yoshi, yoshi.
Yeah, this looks pretty cool. And there we go! We got a skybox. Looks pretty cool, I'd say. Now, I don't necessarily have a plan of how the game's gonna look yet. All I know is that you just parkour. But I'll just make something up along the way and expand the concept as development progresses. So I started working on the parkour gameplay. I added a block mesh into the game, aka a shape from a mesh instance 3D node, to test out how the concept would work. I then added some code to make the 2 blocks spawn at the start of the game. And now that's done, all we gotta do is make the parkour gameplay. Shouldn't be too hard, right? Fuck. Oh my gamer. It's clear that I don't know what I'm doing, so if I can't figure out a way to implement this, I needed to rely on help. Why is the code not working? Why is it so close? Hey, you use Godot, right?
Yep, sure do.
Cool. I was wondering, how can I implement a feature where when the game starts, there's 2 blocks that spawn, and when you jump to the next block, another one spawns in a random vector, and the one block behind you disappears?
Well, have you tried coding something like this yet?
Yeah, I have, but I can't seem to get it working.
Well, what does your code look like right now?
Well, it looks something like this.
Well, I'd say first off, what's the point of calling the starter inst function to spawn the first block? You can just simply add this one line to add child block.
Okay, how about the actual spawning code?
Dude, this is pretty easy. All you gotta do is just create an area 3D node at the top of your block to detect the player. Once you do that, you gotta create a 3D body enter signal. And that should be all.
Whoa, thanks man, this is helpful. Oh yeah!
What a weirdo.
So far, progress is coming along well, and I even found a new texture I can use for now. But I'd say we need some sort of score system to see how many blocks you actually jumped, right? Nah, let's just make a main menu because I feel like it. Alright, and we got a main menu. Alright, let's actually add a score system. So it was fairly easy to add, as all you gotta do is make a little UI for it, write a couple lines of code, and whenever the next block is spawned, we emit a signal that increases the score. And boom, we got it working. But there's something that's been bugging me. A block doesn't spawn in front of you most of the times whenever you jump to the next block. So you always have to look around since it always spawns in a pure random 3D vector, which means it can also not spawn in your view. So that's quite annoying, and I need to fix that. So I came up with using a variable to control where the blocks spawn at start, meaning I could control it to start in front of the player, and the code here ensures this happens. Anyways, I think we could spice up the game a little bit by adding several block types. Maybe, for example, a freaking prism mesh, a freaking tube trowel mesh, whatever that is, and a freaking wall block for wall sliding, and a freaking moving platform that, well, freaking moves. All these weren't too hard to add, and I even made some cool settings for different block types. Since I decided to add a block for wall sliding, I figured I should make the mechanics so you're able to wall slide in-game. Here's the code that I made, I guess. It's not the greatest wall sliding you ever seen, and you don't even get pushed off when you jump off the wall, so yeah, I need to fix that later. But anyways, I also made some cool animations when you're either wall sliding from the left side to the right side of the wall. This wall sliding mechanic is probably the worst thing at the code yet, but I'm sure there's more to come later in development where I want to kill myself even more. I feel as if the development of the game has progressed far enough that I can get opinions of how the game is like. So I decided to upload the game as if privately on itch.io and send it out to some friends of mine and see what kind of feedback they can give to me. I uploaded the very first version of my very epic awesome game. Play it if you want, I don't know, don't expect amazing things from it yet. Also, you may need to put a password, Sigma, on something since it's not public. And now we wait. Alright, it looks like we got some feedback for the game. Let me just look through these real quick. Okay, so in summary, here's the feedback I was given. Some of these issues will take priority over the others, like this one. So I started working on it. Well, it took a while, but it does work well in game. So that's epic! And that's pretty much it. That's all I feel like doing. Anyways, thank you, the goats of all time, and I'll seriously take this feedback into consideration. Remember that simple score system I made? Sure, you get a score when you jump on one block at a time, but for example, if I changed it from only one block spawning ahead of you to, let's say, 4, so you can see more ahead of you. What happens if you jump to maybe 2, 3, or 4 blocks ahead of you? It still counts as one score. So we need to fix it so that it gives you the amount of score you jumped ahead. Honestly, it's not that difficult to create these variables for the different blocks. The code underneath indicates that, for example, a distance from the first to 4 blocks is less than 2.0, the distance of after jumping off the first block to the second block. It then gives you the amount of score of the amount of blocks you skipped to get to that point. Otherwise, if you just jump a single block, you get 1 score. So far, I'm really enjoying the game, and I can definitely say I spent lots of time just parkouring around instead of actually working on the game. But you know, there's not really much to do in this game, so let's add some mini games to the game! Here's the concept. At a certain score range, let's say around 25 to 50, there will be a random chance a portal will spawn near the next block, maybe a pathway leading up to it, and whenever you jump through this portal, it'll lead you to a random minigame with a random difficulty. If you successfully win the minigame, whatever it is, you get special rewards. If you lose, nothing really happens. So now that I explained the concept, let's get game devin'! So the first minigame I'm thinking about adding is a minigame called Side to Side, where you just jump from side to side of a single block to get points. If you land on the top, you get penalized or there'll be like a warning or something. If you fall to the void, you lose all your points. So to get started, I first created a scene for the portal. I then added a plane mesh that will be the base of the portal. Now we got the base, let's start working on the VFX of the portal that I'm totally not following a tutorial for. Man, what a big shader graph. Ooh, look at all the settings I can do. And credits to Lee Lu for this tutorial. It was really helpful. You're awesome. Now that we got the visual effect, I can now finally start working on the mini game. So I created the scene for the mini game and added a single block in the middle. I also added some area 3D nodes on both sides to detect the player's collision to increase the score. I also decided to add some text to the floor indicating what's left and right, and so you can track which direction you've been going this entire time. And now I can finally start working on the code after we had all the prerequisites fulfilled. And would you look at that? I created some riveting gameplay. But you might be asking, how would the player access this? Well, I already explained it a bit ago, but we're gonna create a pathway structure for the portal to spawn in that'll be beside the next block. Now we gotta code 2 things, right? The ability to teleport to a minigame via a portal, and the option for the portal to spawn. Let's start with option 2 first. So this shouldn't be too difficult to implement, as all we gotta do is basically make the pathway structure, and whenever it spawns, the pathway structure is distanced away from the next block. So what that would look like in code would maybe look like this. And now, let's test this out. Yes, it indeed works. Now that option 2 is finished, we need to work on option 1 so I can finally finish this minigame system. For now. So the first step is to add an area 3D node with a collision shape to detect the player's collision whenever it interacts with the portal. And add a couple lines of code in the area 3D node. And yeah, that's pretty much all I have to do actually. So and now behold this excellent and bold creation of mine. I present to you minigames. Or minigame. There's only one minigame so far. I'm not really sure if I'll keep this minigame in or not, but at least it established the concept of how minigames would work in this game. Well, I think I added enough for now for the minigames at least, so let's work on a couple of other things I need to make. So, I've noticed that dying in this game is pretty boring, as it just resets the game when you fall into the void. So, I decided I wanted to make some sort of death animation for the goober. So, to get started, I want to first make the sound effect. So, I opened up FL Studio, and finally, this software has a use after I bought it for $300 4 months ago. Anyways, I created a new project and looked around in the instruments, particularly Flex, till I found something I wanted to use for the sound effect. This will do. Now that we got the sound effect, it's time to make the death animation. And yeah, there you go. I put in a lot of effort into this one. Okay, now it's time to code it. So we'll add a section in the physics process function that, well, happens every tick to check if the player has been lower than a certain amount of Y position of a current block, and whether or not they aren't dead. If this is true, all of this will happen below, and that would make the death animation appear. So let's test this out. Yup, the death animation in all its glory. It's beautiful. Yeah, it kind of sucks right now, but at least I got a system in place if I ever wanted to implement some death animations in the future. With everything I put together in this game, I'll showcase the game what it's like in its current state. It doesn't seem like much considering how long this video is, but I don't really want to show any more in this part, and instead I'll leave it for the next eventual part as the video is already getting pretty lengthy. If you made it this far, say awesome sauce in the comments section, and consider subscribing if you don't want to miss the eventual second part. I'm not sure if I'll have the download link ready for the game in the description, considering there isn't much yet. Who knows? Anyways, thank you for watching, and explode that subscribe and like button. Or if you despise the video, I guess, there's the dislike button. I don't know why you want to do that, but okay, see ya. Bye-bye.